Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the MBN webinar today with founder of Crimson Fox Studios, Russell Pearson. My name is Anita Botel, and I'm with the Melbourne Business Network, and I am your host for today. Before we get started, I'd just like to acknowledge country and officially recognise the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to the elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Now, for those of you that are new to the Melbourne Business Network, we're a membership-based organisation that contributes to the economic development of Melbourne by facilitating business connections, communications and collaborations within a 15 postcode radius of the municipality of Melbourne. We've been successfully connecting people since 1994, and we make it easy for like-minded businesses to connect, build relationships and extend their reach, therefore enhancing their business opportunities. We also take pride in managing the annual Business 3000 awards program and ceremony, which is still open for submissions if anybody's interested. So today I encourage you to post your LinkedIn URL to our chat room to connect and set up virtual coffee meetings and converse with the like-minded people on this session. We have put some time aside at the end of this session for some questions. I think Russell may take a couple of breaks through the session, but he will lead us through that so that we can ask some questions throughout the session. Now, today we're going to get some great advice on moving from business recovery to profitable growth with our guest speaker and MBN member, Russell Pearson. As I said, Russell is director of Crimson Fox Studios, and he's an experienced business strategist, marketer, speaker, and facilitator, and with a world of experience from cop to coffin when it comes to running a business. And now really is, particularly with this new round of restrictions, it's time to disrupt the COVID situation. The move from business recovery to profitable growth will be the key for business owners and entrepreneurs as the challenges are not going anywhere in the foreseeable future. So it's time to get up and get it with Russell Pearson. Welcome, Russell.
Thank you, Anita. Thanks very much for having me. It's fantastic to have you all on the call today. And I would love to just start the session by asking you and finding out a little bit about you. So with the chat box, make sure to share, not to just panelists, but panelists and all attendees. Share in the chat box, what industry are you coming from? So what is the industry that you represent? Because after yesterday, a lot of us were already in a lockdown of sorts and already working remotely, but now it's extended to the majority of industries out there, certainly touching into retail, which, depending on who you are, is a good thing. But it's awesome to have you join us. So make sure you put it in the chat so that I can hear, visually hear what you're saying. So there's Michelle Moore's put something in there, which is great. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be learning some strategies. And those strategies are going to help adapt you and your business in the face of this pandemic, but also government restrictions. And ideally to set yourself up for current and future success. So I'd love you to engage with the session today. Do put your questions in the chat box. Hopefully I'll be able to actually see them as we go. And do stick around to the end too, because I've got some other resources that you might find really, really useful. So the one thing I'd like to make sure that you've got is a paper and pen. Make sure you've got something that you can be writing down on, because today's not going to be about just theory. It's actually going to be about you doing stuff as well, which is a really big part of my belief system, which is that you need to just be taking this education and putting it into action so that you can build confidence and belief in yourself. And we really need a bit more of that right now. So you've started to put in who you are. There's people working in the non-for-profit sector, which is fantastic. We've got sales, consulting businesses, we've got philanthropy, psychology. Please continue to add those things in there, because not only do you able to share with all the other people that are attending this event, but I'll be also able to give you some more specific and helpful tools for your industry. Hopefully that's going to be something I can do today too. So who am I? My name's Russell Pearson. I am a business strategist. And what does that mean? That means that I've done a lot of stuff in business and I've come to a place where I'm now consulting. So I started in the brand strategy space, used to work with a lot of large pharmaceutical companies, and back in the 90s when they had a hell of a lot of money. So I've been doing this for nearly 25 years. and have moved into the small business space through setting up my business over 13 years ago, actually 15 years ago now, and helping people in that area. So brand strategy, moving into business strategy, where really we're connecting marketing and sales to create more effective systems within people's businesses. So it's been corporate originally, and obviously then I moved to the small business world. I've been doing that for over 15 years, and I've touched on just about every industry. There's not an industry that anyone's written there yet that I haven't worked in, and so continue to write those in there because I'd love to see if I can get a challenge today. Now today is all about getting those strategies and enabling you to adapt. It's the idea of like, what if you could actually move into a new market right now in this situation that we're all currently in? What if you could actually attract more ideal clients into your world? It is possible. And so what if you could like redesign your business right now so it was the business that you always wanted? This is the opportunity that is here in front of you. And so while that might sound a bit, guru-ish, and I've been there, I know what you're talking about, because there are all these people out there saying that you can have the business of your dreams, but they're not actually helping you do it. And I think the key is not just about, yes, seeing that there are ideas out there, but how do you put them into action? It's not just about the strategy, but very much about the tactics. How do you get those tactics to work for your business specifically? So when you actually do create that business that you want, you actually get to do the work you want, working with businesses that you love and clients that you love, doing work that you love. And ideally that leads into the mindset and the life that you want. And that's what today's about. It's like, how can you adapt in this situation to potentially get everything you've ever wanted? And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but I've been running a business for over 15 years. I get it. I know that it can sound far-fetched, but in the last 5 years in particular, I've actually found that you can get it. And so like going back, 5 years? I'm lying in bed, I'm staring at a ceiling, it's 1 a.m. And I'm wondering how I got where I was. And I can hear down the hall a little girl that's crying for her mum. And I say a little girl because it wasn't my daughter. And it did sound like a little girl, but she was 95 years old. And she was screaming and crying and in pain. And she was confused because she didn't realize that she was in hospital, which is where we both were. And I thought, listening to her, I'm going to be in that situation one day, and I'm currently not happy where I am, because it wasn't about not being happy that I'm in hospital. I knew how I got there. I'd come in 7 days earlier. They said, you're young and healthy, go home, you'll be fine. And then a week after, I come back in a critical condition. And so it just gave me that moment to step out of my business for a good amount of time to consider what I was doing. And what I was doing was not living the business that I wanted. And so that started a journey for me, which really took 3 years to build the business that I wanted. And it took a lot of internal searching, because what I did is I looked out there first. I went out to all the gurus, and they're telling me all sorts of different things, and I tried what they suggested, but at the end of the day, the journey was in here, and I had to discover what it was that I wanted and who I was. And what I realized is that I've been wearing this mask of professionalism and appropriate, this sort of beige, I hate beige now, this beige mask of professionalism, because I was working under someone else's illusion of what success was. Going back to when I was 25 years old, that's when I started the business side of things. I didn't know what I wanted, so I just grabbed onto the thing that was closest to me, and it was the Australian dream, very much like the American dream. And within 2 years, I started my own business. I'd married my high school sweetheart, we had a child on the way, and we purchased our first house. And so I started living that Australian dream, and for the next 10 years, I chased it really, really hard. And by all accounts, by everyone else's measure, I'd done the work and I'd become successful. I had a successful business, it was award-winning, I had 10 staff, I was doing all the things that I was supposed to be doing, but waking up in that hospital bed at 1 a.m, staring at the ceiling, listening to a screaming woman down the hall, I realised that I was not happy, and that I'd built it under someone else's definition of what success was. And once I realised that I didn't need to do that, I didn't need to measure myself by somebody else, and I actually had to just take the mask off and be more me, I actually attracted people into my world that appreciated what I had, and I ended up working and creating a business that I now love, that I get out of bed every morning for, to work with people that I passionately enjoy working with, doing work that I absolutely love. And I think that's the opportunity here for all of us in this time where we have this moment of reflection. So what are we going to do with it? And it's a tough time. I get that. Absolutely. And I'm not necessarily comparing it to the hospital because it was a short time there. For many people, this is months. And it's affecting me just like anybody else. I was on stages before February, and even in February and March, on stages getting paid for that work, and now I'm not. And so I've had to adapt. And so many other people are having to adapt too. And now with these new government restrictions, we're in a place where we can feel like the headlights are right on us and we don't know what to do next. So today's session is really about how do you get out of this place of not happy? How do you get out of this place of overwhelm and out of control? And I'm not talking about going out and creating some 2-year, 3-year, 5-year plan. I'm not even talking about the old 18-month plan, which is what I would have suggested before this all happened. I'm talking about the next 3 months, because there's so much you can get done in 90 days, yet it goes past like that. So we want to move away from this looming sense of doom that a lot of people are telling me about because they don't know where the end is. And we need to accept where we are, look at what we've got, and take advantage of that to really get up and get what we want in life. So how do we do that? Well, we need to move to a place of belief and confidence. And I'm sure you would agree with me that especially Melburnians right now are smashed in that capacity. Our belief in the future, our confidence about what we're able to do and what we're able not to do has been destroyed. So how do we get that confidence? How do we get that belief in ourselves back again? And really that's about getting some new education and doing something a little different. Taking that knowledge and putting it into action. Because when you do that, when you start having these tiny yet powerful successes, you start creating a culture of confidence. You start building that confidence back in yourself and your team. And really that's what it's all about. So that's what I want to help you do. I want to help you take some tiny actions today. I want to have a look at what those mean for you. How can you take some of the education, put it into action, and make your business potentially get some of the best opportunities it's ever had, even in this environment. Now, I'm going to show you some things that the concepts, and I'm going to show you some things that are potentially theory. But I want you, with your paper and your pen, to be writing down how they apply to your world. How can you put these things into practice for you? I'll be giving you some illustrations about different business models, and they may apply to what I'm seeing here on the chat room, but they may not. So think a little bit more broadly about how you can put these things into practice, because they will apply to you. It's just a case of you to be open to accept that they may apply to you. So even in this business environment, even with the government restrictions that are going on, even if your business has been locked down, these are things that you can potentially do. And look, ask questions during the session. At different times, I'll get people to put their hands up and see if they've got any specific questions, just to make sure that we understand what we're actually talking about, making sure that you get the concepts that I'm talking about. But do put them in the chat room as well, because I am watching. I'm watching the chat. That's right, I'm watching you. Now, I just want to quickly touch on my mother. I'll just talk about my mother for a second, who was a wonderful woman. And she really sort of created my love for strategy. So back when I was like 6, my mum set me down on an old sort of leather Chesterfield couch. And there was a little wooden table in front of me. She sat on the other side and she pulled out an old wooden box. She put the box on the table and opened it up. Inside that wooden box were 32 little wooden pieces. Now, those wooden pieces were chess pieces, and they had like little bits of felt on the bottom of them. And I don't know if you've ever played with a chess set that's got like wooden pieces and those little bits of felt on the bottom, but it has a certain texture, a certain feel to when you're playing with those things. And I remember that feeling about when she taught me, and she proceeded to teach me the game of chess. And I really took to it because I love that strategy. I love thinking of moving parts and how you can put those moving parts together. But what was interesting is that while I got to a certain point and got reasonably good, once I hit this sort of ceiling, I only became as good as the mistakes that I made in previous sessions. So I'd only learn by losing. And so what I'd like to do, I guess, today is show you a way to not just learn by losing. Because when I took that chessboard, my mother gave it to me, but I took it home and I put it in front of my daughter, who was 6 years old. And this only happened, 6 years ago, because she's 12 now. I opened up in front of her and she took to the game just the same way as I did. And she reached that same ceiling the same way I did. But now there's this awesome thing called chess.com. Now chess.com wasn't around in my day, but chess.com will teach you these tiny little strategies, these tiny little things that you can implement straight away. And within 5 minutes of learning, you can instantly get better, and then get better, and then get better again. Just 1% at a time, you can increase your ability to be strategic in the game of chess, and then tactical in the game of chess, so you can win more. And that can happen too within your business. So how can you find your equivalents of chess.com? Today might be an example of that, where you can learn tiny little tactics, put them into action, and then learn how to get better at this game of business that we all find ourselves in. So what I would like to do to start that is show you an ethical way to hack your non-competitive business models. So your non-competitive business industries that are out there are ways that you can hack their business models to do more stuff in your own business model. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the board up here. And hopefully you'll be able to see this. If you haven't already got it on speaker view, put it on speaker view so you can get the big version of this. But where's the pen? There's a pen. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. It's the idea of taking one business model and seeing that it actually has very, very similar ways of acting or activities in it that model over to your business model as well. I'll give you an example, right? So business model 1, we'll say real estate. And if you've got any questions for this, put it in the chat while I'm going through it, right? So we've got real estate. Real estate has exactly the same business model as recruitment. So real estate, you have properties. Recruitment, you have candidates. Real estate, you have buying clients. Recruitment, you have buying or employing clients. The model is exactly the same as far as how you go about doing it. So what you can do, if you're in a recruitment space, you can go and have a look at the real estate agencies at the moment and say, what are they doing in this new environment? What has changed for them? And potentially, how does that adapt for me? Or vice versa, if you're in the recruitment space, have a look at the real estate agencies and see what they're doing in an innovative way to actually get in front of their customers more. Now, it's interesting because real estate's now gone from this group model to by appointment only. Now, the recruitment model was that in some places has a group model as well, where you'll have like these group interviews and what have you. They've had to change that to that same sort of situation too, where it's by appointment. But they can go online as well. Are there ways that real estate can go online? And I think there already are, where they can walk people through a property. So there's ways in here, for instance, to see some similarities for your own business. So what I want you to do as I'm walking through this is consider, what are the examples for you? What chess piece do you actually look like? You know, what are your moves in your business? What are the moves that you can actually take? And what other industries are they happening in? So to give you a couple more examples. So building. And we know that building has been smashed. You know, the builders have been sort of hit in the last 24 hours. So what's another space that we can look at? Web design. There's a same business model and sales process to both of these. So while there might not, like, it'll be a slower process, we can still have 5 people, I think, on site at the moment. We still can look over to the web design industry and see how are they actually attracting more people into their world to get more opportunities for these builds, so they can at least stack up. Now, if you're a builder, you're probably already flat out. You can look at the web design industry and say, how are they getting things done faster? Because innovation in speed and efficiency is massive in the web design industry. So you can look at that and bring it back to the building industry. Maybe it's Scrum as a way of actually processing what you're doing. It's all sorts of different methodologies that you can use. And vice versa, if you're in the web design industry and you now can't get in front of people, what are some things in the building industry that you can bring back? And that could be around the way contracts are created. It could be around the way that you actually acquire things. Now, some of you might be saying these two industries are not the same, but they completely are. You're selling the invisible and then you're building it. All right, you're building it to spec. So that's where these industries are very, very similar. Now I'll throw another one in for you. See if you can see that one. It's going to get a little low. I might go high on this one. All right, so we're going to go landscape gardening. Again, if you've got any questions, put them in the chat. So landscape gardening and IT management. That says management, believe it or not. So landscape gardening and IT management. It doesn't seem like it would make sense as far as those two business models being very, very similar, but it is in that both of them sell something and then sell management of it. So within the landscape gardening, they sell fixing up, in a lot of cases, your backyard or your landscape, and then they will usually try and sell you a management contract to actually have that as an ongoing process, right? So the same thing can happen. What does happen in IT is they sell a solution or an infrastructure, and then they sell a management consulting opportunity. So these are two similar industries where you can be looking from one industry to the other or vice versa. Now, you're not just going to have one industry that's the same as what you're doing. There are multiple. And so maybe the simplest process for you is to write down what are the key things, what are the widgets or what are the key sales points or even sales processes within your business. And then who else does something similar to that? So this is one way you can actually go to another industry and ethically hack the way they're doing stuff, steal their ideas, bring it back to your industry, and a lot of people in your industry won't be doing it yet because they're all in there copying each other. Now, I'll give you an example of a mistake that I see a lot of people making using this same process. So there are a lot of accountants right now starting to sell like software people because they've got Xero on board. It's helping them run their business a little easier. So Xero, for those who don't know, Xero. And the way Xero sells is it sells as modules. So you will buy a payroll module, and then if you want to upgrade to another piece, you'll get a wholesaling cost module, and you'll go an overseas exchange module, right? So there's these little modular things that they sell. And so accountants have started looking, well, I can sell you on this, or I can sell you on that, and they add these little modules. They like the idea of it, but what ends up happening is that they get a negative perception because the expectation is that an accountant is there to advise and consult you, not to sell you modular pieces of product. So you've got to look at your expectation about how customers coming to you, because by an accountant selling by modules, they're turning themselves into a commodity. So their opportunity is to not sell themselves as a commodity, but actually sell themselves as a much higher management advisory service. So an accountant shouldn't be looking at things like Xero, I believe. They should be looking at the high-end consulting companies and going, how do I actually do that? Because the way the consulting companies work is a little bit like our landscape gardener. They'll come in, do a chunk of work, and then work on a management consulting contract. So there's some ideas. If there's has anyone got any questions about that one? I might just flick the view for myself so I can see everybody. Any hands up? Put a hand up if you've got a question. There's a lot of people that haven't even got their screens on. That's all right, I can see everybody there. I'm looking over here because this is where I've got my screen set up. That's no problem. There's so much more for me to talk to, so I will keep going. Hopefully you're finding this interesting though, right? So put it in the chat. Yeah, so there, Marie, I'm glad that you're getting something out of this, which is great. So where can you look for examples of where this is happening for you, and what chess piece are you? What are you like? What is a business industry that you're not in where you can learn examples of what else you can be doing and consider your own business model? Yeah, it is a clever hack. And you might be doing that for all sorts of things, Helen. I love your work. I'm glad to have you in the session today. Now, number 2 is the next one I want to show you is an amazing way to add more products and services without stepping out of your niche. All right. So we do this using the from to method. And I might just, what am I going to do here? I'm going to throw something up here on screen so I can create a bit of magic. I think we're going to put up this one here. Space, that's right. So while you're looking at the space picture, there's a bit of magic happening in the background, and you never know what's going to happen when I turn the space picture off. Well, it's disappeared. That's right. We're going to actually work on the from to process. So from to. What does that mean? From to is where you move your customer or your client from to. All right. So you need to know this. as a business owner, this is going to give you so many more opportunities to help service the problems of your customer. And to do it, what I'm going to do is give you a phishing example. All right, so here's where they are from. Here's what they're moving to, right? The tick means that they've actually succeeded. So where are they from? Well, actually, I'll move to who. Where they want to move to is to consistently catch fish. All right. So how do you get you're selling this fishing consulting, right? Or fishing training, right? So fishing training, it's fishing, and they're starting at a place of I don't know how. And I'll just say don't know how, right? But I don't know how to consistently catch fish. And so what are the steps that people need to move through to get from there to there? Now think about your own industry, think about your own customer. Where are they when you find them, and where do they want to be moved to, right? So with this fishing example, they need to know about the equipment, right? So what equipment do I need to use to catch fish? Where are the fish? You know, what sort of bait do I need to be the most effective bait for the fishing? What are some techniques? Some techniques of how to catch fish. You know, how do I draw them in? How do I land a fish, right? And then what do I do after? So once I've caught a fish, how do I prepare the fish? How do I keep the fish, etc., etc. I'm saying fish a lot. I'm embedding it in your head, right? So you can look at all these things, and then suddenly you might be only working on, all right, well, I'm actually only looking at the techniques side of how to catch fish. And so now if you look at this thing that people have to walk through, you can go, oh, well, actually, I can talk to the equipment as well, or I can talk to the where are they, or I can talk to the bait you want to use. Now, I could potentially use this in marketing and sales as well, right? So what are the online or even offline equipment that you can be using to attract people into your world? Where are your ideal customers? What are the things that are going to bring them into your world and capture those people so that you can have a conversation with them? And I'll show you some of that in just a minute. That's going to be my third point. What are the techniques, obviously, that you can do to actually bring people into your world? And what do you do after you've got a lead? What do you do with it, right? And so whether it's constantly catching fish or consistently actually catching ideal clients, these are these processes you get to move people through. Now, you don't just stop there. So once you've done this for yourself, you go, all right, well, I'll take each of these and I'll step down. So I'll say, all right, where? And then the new point becomes, oh, you can't see that, it's a little higher, all right? So the new point becomes, I don't know where to catch fish, through to, I know exactly where the ideal fish that I want are. And then you're going to have, all right, so you're going to have types of environments of fish. You're going to have types of fish. You're going to have how to get there. You're going to have all these other steps within the where column that are new products and services that you get to offer, right? So in not-for-profit fundraising, clients need to be taught of their vital roles in the process. Absolutely. And I think that the opportunity there is for you to decide, do you want to service the client the whole way along the line? Now, in times like this, you probably do want to broaden in that capacity because you've got expertise here with training fish. Or do you want to just look after one bit? Like you might want a niche because there's a lot of competitors teaching people how to catch fish, but you want to be the go-to bait guy or girl. You know, the person. If you want to know what bait to use for the fish that you want to get, then you'll go to this person, and you might niche in that spot. But the great thing about that is you can step back down here and you can look at all these different other opportunities. So we can even step back further and go, what are the types of fish then? And then it goes, I don't know the types of fish, so I know all the different types of fish, and I know how to choose which fish are the preference for me, right? So the idea is with this, you can literally explode the different opportunities for products and services that you can offer your clients. And obviously, one of the best things you can be doing right now is speaking to your customers, speaking to your prospects, and having conversations to them about what hurts right now. You know, where is the pain points? Because you might find that it's somewhere along this line that you're not currently servicing. But if you go and do this work right now, if you go out after this session and start creating some simple diagrams to identify what are the different steps that you're helping people work through from where you meet them to where they want to be, you'll be able to get very, very clear about what what opportunities you're listening out for. And when people say something, you can start talking about the specific process. So it might be, all right, so just play with me on this one, right? So you're sitting down, you're having a consulting meeting with someone who wants to catch fish. Right? And they're talking about, look, I'm great at catching fish when I get them. When they're on the line, they're fantastic. Now, you've just been teaching techniques on fishing. They don't need techniques on fishing. But they go, the trouble is just finding them, and it's just a throwaway line that they say. You need to be ready to be hearing that, so that when they say that, you go, so you're telling me that you can get them when you want them, but if you could get in front of more of them, if you could find out where they are, then you could obviously catch more fish. It'd be more consistent for you. And they go, yes, it would. Well, how about if I was able to show you a way of going from not knowing where those fish are to knowing exactly where those fish are every time you go out on your boat, right? So you've literally created the opportunity there, and ideally a new product and or service. And so the opportunity, I think, there for you is to ask that question. Ask those questions of your prospects, ask those questions of your customers. And when somebody says yes, then go about creating the product. You don't have to have it straight away. One of the greatest tips that I've got for you is pilot programs. So if you haven't built something yet you know that your audience is crying out for it, invite those handful of customers or those handful of prospects to come in and experience the product or service that you're building, and do it with them. So even if you're building a physical product, have them work with you on the prototyping. Have them engaged in that process, because you'll actually, that's an A, it's not a 1, it's an A. So A, you'll actually design it exactly the way they want it, and B, that's a B, they will be already ready to buy when you're ready to launch. So you'll actually be setting up a launch process, rather than what I see a lot of people doing, which is actually creating a product that they believe that their customers want, and then they go about trying to sell it into a crowd that doesn't necessarily want it right now. So that's number 2. Now I've got another one that I want to touch on, and this one's talking about really moving away from solutions. So if anyone's been in business for more than 5 years, and I think that's a majority of you, what you'll see is we don't want to just talk about solutions. We might be delivering solutions for our customers, but what we want to be talking about is the problems that we solve. All right. Now, at least that's what I thought was the case for a large part of my marketing life, until I realized that only a small portion of the market is ready to talk about the problem that you can solve for them, because only a small portion of the market can actually identify the problem that's in front of them. Only a small portion of the market is looking for the problem that you can solve. So I'm going to just do a little bit of magic, and I'm just going to be talking a bit of patter, patter, patter. But it'd be interesting for you to put into the chat box, what are the problems that you solve? So I'd love to see each of you. There's some really cool industry examples there that I love. But what are the problems that you solve for people? Not the solutions that you offer, but what is the problem that you solve with your solution? I'm seeing lots of non-writing. So none of you solve any problems, and it's unfortunate. So, well, luckily I'll be able to move on to the next bit. Oh, here we are. Help them sell better. Yeah, absolutely. So just to get some clarity on that, Jen, or Jens, or Jans, or however it's pronounced. Sorry, but it's not the problem that you're solving is not helping them to sell better. That's the solution, right? So the problem that you're solving will be, I don't know how to sell, or I don't have confidence in selling, or I don't have a process. That's the problem that you actually are solving for them. And so for a lot of my life, that was the space that I would start. Yeah, tax is too high, right? So how do I reduce my tax? Might be one of those issues. Now, we've got a lot of people starting with a solution, right? So they go, all right, I love, well, I'll take the sales one because that's great. I love helping people sell more. And so I go out there and go, I can help you sell more. And people will go, well, I don't want to sell more. I'm having trouble selling any, right? And so the problem that they've got is very much like I just described. I don't know how to sell, or I don't have any confidence in selling, or I don't have a system to sell. And so really what you want to be doing is going out there and speaking to these. Now that's going to get you maybe 20% max of the market. 20% are ready to hear about the problem that you solve for them. The rest of the 80% are just walking around with what I call symptoms. So they're walking around experiencing pain, but they haven't been able to put a name on it yet. And so if we take this first one, which is I don't know how to sell, so I don't know, and we've got sell over here. What are the symptoms of that? So it could be I've just started a new role in sales and I've never done it before. I'm not getting any, like my sales quota is this and I'm not heading anywhere near it. So my sales quotas are low. I hate selling. They actually don't like the process of getting on the phone or doing whatever it is that they need to do to sell, right? So that becomes 3 symptoms of the one problem. Now, 80% of your people are going to be sitting in these symptoms. It's the equivalent of going, I've got a pain in my leg, but I don't know yet that it's gout. So I'm not looking for a solution to gout because I just have a pain in my leg. So what you might want to do is go out in your marketing and say, have a pain in your leg. Here's 5 reasons why it could be happening. All right, and you bring them to there, and then you educate them in the process that it could be gout. I love this example. It's fantastic, right? So what are the symptoms that you can be offering for people? Now, if it's confidence, there are a whole bunch of different things that illustrate that people are not feeling confident, and it's the same thing if they don't have process as well, right? So process is a great one because with process, you can increase in incremental increments, that's a great one, to improve. So they might say, well, look, I'm getting 50% conversion, but I'm hitting this ceiling and I can't get higher. Well, maybe it's because you don't have a system in place so you can make those incremental improvements, right? So what you can see here is by looking at the symptoms, we're able to increase the opportunities for our customers. And I'll just move the light off there. I think there's a bit of light there. Move that over there. No, we got to make this way. Right, cool. You increase the opportunities to talk to your customers. And really, the 80% of the activity you should be doing is talking to the symptoms when you're doing marketing, when you're doing your content creation. All right. So a lot of the problem I hear with content creation is I don't know how to create all this content. It sounds like there's too much content I need to create. Right. If you do this process, they're all going to be there. You're going to have 3 times more things to talk to. And then you're going to have like 3 times 3. So 3 to the power of 3 times versus the solution that you've got. So we only want to talk to solution when someone has identified to us that they have a specific problem we can solve. Before that, we want to talk to the problems, and before that, we want to talk to the symptoms. So hopefully that makes sense. Has anyone got any questions around that one? Feel free to either put your hand up or put it in the chat. I'm just going to have a quick look at the hands up thing. No. Oh, there you are, Helen. Hello. No, that's cool. There's so many more things you can be doing, and I know there's a lot of stuff in this. And when you actually apply this, when you do apply this to your business, when you actually go and look at this, you'll see that there's so many more opportunities than you may have even considered before. But I'd love you to go and apply these processes to your own business, right? Because what I've given you at the end of the day is an effective way to ethically look at hacking your non-competitive businesses out there. So the people who are like you, so the people who have similar moves to the moves that you can make. I've helped you create a way to make more business offerings with the from to model. So making sure that you go and do that work to identify your from process to process and then step down into the little chunks and work out how you can be broadening that, how you can be doing more with that, right? And this way really is a way to triple your marketing efforts. It's a way to capture the 80% of people who are not ready to buy, and you move them through your belief system. And I'll talk to this in a second. Move them through your belief system to actually get them to buy from you. So the 3 core beliefs that you need to help someone realize is, number 1, you have a solution to their problem. Number 1 is that they have a problem at all. Number 1 is that they have a problem. If they don't identify that they've got a problem, they can't take a step forward. Once they identify they've got a problem, the second belief that they need to have is that you have a solution at all. Now, you'll be then in the mix with a whole bunch of different options. So let's say that This is not in fact, this is a reminiscing option back to the days when we could go to the cinema, right? So the problem could be I'm bored at home and I want to be entertained. So the options in front of you are maybe you could go to the cinema, maybe you could actually go out and have dinner somewhere, maybe you could watch a television show. There's all these different options because you just become part of the options. But you are one of the options that they could choose from. And then the third belief that you need to have people understand is that you have the best option for them right now. And that comes into the way you language all this stuff. So making sure you're addressing your messaging right now when people are in this environment and understanding if you're on a national basis, there are different conversations going on. There's a bit of wariness in New South Wales. In Melbourne, we're right in the middle of it. And I'm right in the middle of it with you as well. In Queensland, the conversation is la, 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 it's not happening, right? So if you're on a national basis, you need to understand those different conversations that are happening, right? So now's the time for action. Right, and questions, because I'm going to answer these questions in a moment. But what I'd like to make sure that you've got is tiny yet powerful actions. So don't necessarily do all of this, though this is going to be recorded so you can go back and watch it and do it in parts. But I want you to take just one thing, just one tiny little thing that you're going to do in the next 7 days. And what I'd love you to do, if you can't do it straight after this session, is put it in your diary when you're going to do it. Because the move from knowledge to action is the thing that actually creates the confidence. And that's what we all need right now to really get back up and get it. Because I understand we're all in this situation where you can't even think strategically because you're still stuck in what's happening right in front of me. I don't know which way to go, therefore I won't make a decision at all. And so by stepping back and doing these tiny yet powerful actions, you'll actually help yourself through that process of getting unstuck. You're able to get out of the spotlights so that you're not stuck there like a bunny, and you're able to get moving again. And if you're able to take one step, you're able to take 2 steps, and you're able to start moving forward. If you start moving forward, you start walking, and then you start running. And if you start running, you're really creating movement, and you're getting that momentum back in your business. And it's the momentum that you're going to create in your business that's going to enable you to get back up and do what you enjoy doing in your business. Now, before I go to the questions, I want to let you know there's a little strategy video, where is it? I think it's this one here, that you can actually go and have a look at as well. It's got an extra 3 different things. I think maybe one of them might be a repeat, but you can get that there. Hopefully you find that really, really cool and useful. Let me know if you do. You can contact me through the website and just say, hey, that was really, really cool. Love to hear it. Catch up with me on social media and all sorts of things like that. But whatever you do, take action at the end of the day. It is about these strategic moves. It's about the things that we can do, and it's about learning little tactics and lessons so that we can step up, take a new step, get better at what we're doing, and get more competitive, get a competitive edge in our business. It was only back at Christmas when we were all still getting back together with our families that I actually got my daughter, who is now 12, to sit down with my mother. And I pulled out that old wooden chessboard. And they sat on either side, and it was literally the first time that one of her, 9 grandchildren now, was able to say the words, checkmate. So thank you very much for being part of this presentation, and I would love to answer your questions, and I'll hand back over to Anita. Anita, you're on mute. Come on down.
Oh, don't you love it? Thank you very much, Russell. That's great information. Oh, you're so upbeat. It's such great energy to have. I think, particularly in light of all these restrictions that we keep getting imposed on us in Melbourne, it's just really great to have somebody with that sort of energy around them. We have had a couple of questions come into the chat box, so I'll read them out for you. Jens has asked a really great question. What do you do when people just don't even admit that they have symptoms? It's what it is what it is, or she'll be right, is what Jens is obviously hearing a lot.
Now, if they don't admit that they've got the symptoms, then you can't help them, right? So, but the difference is, and what I want you to understand as a differentiator, is that don't talk to what they need. Because you know what they need, but they don't yet know what they need, right? So the best one's leadership training, right? Where the symptom is my my team are all knuckleheads. None of them are doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? We know, probably most of us on the call know, that it's actually the leader who needs to change and not the team. But we can't talk to that until they realize that they need to change. So all you can do is talk to the symptoms that they recognize. So the symptoms that that person recognizes in that case is, my team are not doing the work that they need to do. And then you invite them into your world. So you might have an ebook or an article or something about a video about how to get your team doing what you want to be doing, right? And in that, you'll start to educate them about, I understand that your team's not doing what they do. I absolutely get it. I've been in that situation before. And what I realized was actually me that needed to change because I had more control about what I was doing. And you educate them to the problem that you then will solve, and that brings them through to your solution, which ideally will be a lot of mindset work, but also about leadership, right? So that's just that example. So in sales, it's very much the same thing. They'll be complaining about, the greatest one in sales that I always love is the sales team will complain about the marketing leads, all right? So these leads are rubbish. And so it's a case of, how do I make my marketing team work better for me as a salesperson? And at the end of the day, it'll probably be about having them have communication with them and actually working together. And that's a great thing I've actually seen, especially through this environment, this current year, is that the marketing and sales teams are working together all of a sudden. Because the sales teams are like in a little bit of trouble. Business development's like, I can't talk to anyone, so how do I get more leads? And they're willing to open up now and have those conversations. So I'm seeing much more effective marketing systems leading into sales systems because those two teams are working together. So anyway, long answer, but thanks for the question.
Sales and marketing working hand in hand.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. As a marketer, it's interesting. Okay, Elizabeth, one of our members, has a question for you, Russell. What are some of the tips and hacks to generate the symptoms that prospects would more likely identify with?
Yep. So there are a number of ways you can do that. One of my favorite ways is actually to create a survey. So if you do an industry-based survey, and I like to call it a benchmark. And so by positioning it as a benchmark survey, what it is that people will put their answers into, what's that, weird? They'll put their answers into this short survey, and they'll get feedback from the entire survey that tells them how they place in their industry, how they stack up. So that's the benchmarking element of it. And so what that does is it does two things. It enables people to come into your world as leads, because you'll be then saying, if you put your details in here, I will communicate back to you once we've got the benchmark survey published. I'll send it to you direct. So that engages people, but at the same time, it allows you to ask questions that identify these symptoms. So what are the problems that you're finding? What are your challenges at the moment? What are your issues with the industry that I'm currently a part of? All right. So by asking those questions, you'll get their answers, which will identify some of the symptoms. And if you're looking carefully enough, you'll see where where the larger problem exists that you solve over the top of the things they're talking about. But you'll also get the words that they're using. And you want to use their words back to them, because then they'll go, oh, okay, this person understands me. That's one of the biggest things, is making sure you use the client's words or the prospect's words rather than your own. Okay. So hopefully that helps. That's one way for sure.
Thanks, Russell. Michelle's also put a question in the chat box. Yep. Michelle's finding clients are overwhelmed at the moment, and so there's a hesitancy to approach them.
Okay, yeah, cool. And I get that, Michelle, absolutely. There is definitely an overwhelm, especially in this state. And so, but there's two parts to your question too, because your question is that you don't feel comfortable with approaching them, or it looks like that you're hesitant about approaching them. So I think that the opportunity for you now is to approach them, but approach them from a point of view of listening. Not necessarily counseling, not looking for an answer, but giving them a space to talk. Because again, when you allow people to talk, they start sharing their symptoms, they start sharing the opportunities with you. And there are businesses that are around there, and it depends on what industry you're on, that still have budget to spend. They still have KPIs that they need to hit. And so they will have money to spend if you're talking to them. It's just making sure that you're not pushing the sales conversation as hard as you may have before. That being said, if you're not there to help them when they need help, someone else is going to do it for them, or they just won't get help at all. And if you're not helping people right now, I think you're missing the opportunity, because this is ideally what we should be doing. We should be all out here trying to help our customers, help our prospects. And that's a really good mindset piece for you as far as selling, is how can you help more people? How can you be in a position to be serving people and helping them get from where they are to where they want to be? Now, that doesn't have to just be in your realm of expertise. You could become an amazing referral engine by saying, well, the problem you're having is a legal problem, but I actually know someone in law that potentially you want to speak to. So you become a referral engine, and you become the go-to connector that helps you in this scenario. So I think being there, trying to work on the trusted advisor side of things is really a good opportunity for you right now. And at different times, people will tell you what they need. You know, they will, if you listen, they'll tell you what they want. For instance, in accounting right now, there's some clients are saying, we just want to know what the updates mean for us as far as government updates. Some of them are saying, we actually don't want to know about that. We actually want to be motivated in a business capacity to actually take new steps. So we broaden the opportunity. We don't just talk about the accounting, but what are the other services that are around accounting, and how can we have those experts in to talk about those problems too? So we're serving in multiple levels. And at the end of the day, if you're that linchpin, then you become the first go-to person to be their accountant or their sales consultant or their psychiatrist or wherever it might be. You're trying to cement that in the mind. You're trying to brand that in the mind of your prospects and customers, that you're their version of whatever it is that you solve.
Absolutely. We're finding that at the moment with the Melbourne Business Network. Now, Russell, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
This is around messaging. You said addressing messaging is extremely important at the moment. Could you elaborate on that a little bit more? I'm wondering whether that's because we've gone so digital and we've got less face-to-face, except for these Zoom-type meetings. Is that what you're referring to, or is it?
I'm more referring to the conversation that we may have had in 2019 around the products and services that we solve, maybe for less important problems that people are experiencing now. So an example might be my brother, right? My brother is in a business development area where they sell banners. So banners, cloth banners, outdoor banners for events and what have you. So if his messaging is about how can I help you with your outdoor events right now, that's not going to be ideal, especially in the Melbourne situation. So what does the new messaging need to be about? Because there's plenty of opportunities to still use their products and services. And in fact, they've actually there's a lot of COVID opportunities because of the cloth-based work that they already do. So what's the new example of what you can be helping people do? Could it be talking about how can you be creating internal banners that you can be using for your team to help them stay motivated? Can it be about how can you create, what else did he do? He's done some fantastic new things now, but it's talking to the problems that people have in front of them. I think I had to making cloth products, promotional products, sending them out to customers. So going to them and a lot of delivery work rather than people having those events coming to them. So it's how can you look at the problems that your customers are experiencing now and make sure that your messaging is addressing that, not just the future. So another example might be you're a consultant, and what you help people do, this guy here, is help them plan for the future. Now, right now, a lot of people are having trouble with planning for the future. They can't even get their head into the mindset of, I can't even plan for now because I don't know what's going to happen next week. But what I can do is help people take control of the overwhelm right now so they can start moving forward and get back to confident. Right? So I can help them get from here to there. And once they get to that confident space, they can make those decisions that they need to make again, and they can start getting ahead of things. And in fact, some of the customers I've been working with have had amazing opportunities during this period because of a lot of their competitors have gone into hiatus, or they've actually gone quiet, or they've stepped back because they didn't feel like it was the right time to approach people. And so the opportunities that you can get out of this situation are actually massive. And a lot of them also revolve around being the first person, the go-to, as soon as people have the opportunity to buy from you. So preparing for that position.
So true, Russell, so true. Just see this happening at the moment. There seems to be this divide between people that are really embracing the situation and really looking internally into themselves and their business, and others
I'll give you,
that have become overwhelmed.
yeah,
And
if you
it's
don't mind, I'll
such a
give you one more.
shame, that we can't all be on the same page. I'm just wanting to ask around doing this project for yourself and your business. You've obviously highlighted how important it is. How much time do you recommend spending on doing this analysis for the internal analysis of the business?
Well, it doesn't take that long at all. You can do this sort of work in maybe an hour. You can drop down into the different areas of your business in about an hour as well. Once you've done that, then it takes a little bit longer to pick which one you're going to choose to launch or whatever it might be. Launches are really, really cool right now. I'll just really quickly touch on that in a second. But it doesn't take a long time to analyze this work. What it does take a little bit of time to is consider which path to take. You see, strategy is not hard. I'm going from here and I'm going to there, right? And I'm going to take this path. But what most business owners do is they go, all right, I need to get from here to there. What's an idea? What's an idea? Oh, here's an idea. And they go straight away and they act. What I'm suggesting is maybe take 2-3 hours and go, right, what are all the different options that I could take? What's a faster option? What's a bigger option? What's a different option? What's an option that doesn't include me getting there? And write all those down and then consider what's the best option for me right now? Or what are the 2 or 3 options that are good for me right now? That'll actually enable people to have a look at a much broader look of options. If we were considering building a house, you spend a lot of time on the plans. We're building our businesses, and a lot of people don't spend an hour, even a week, to consider what they're actually doing within their businesses, and you wonder why it's so reactionary. So I think it's important to spend the time. It just comes back to how important it is to you at the end of the day.
I think it's important to everybody.
Well, I hope it is. I absolutely do. And just to finalise that point, is the short-term launch is a really good one. I saw a recruitment company recently do a really cool thing where they're sort of at the mercy of their clients about whether they're coming to them. Yes, they're trying to talk to them, but it's a little bit more difficult. So what did they do? They worked on the other side and they said, let's try something new that we haven't done before. So they built a candidate mentoring program. And what that did, it has enabled every one of the team members to have input into it. They all, each of the interviews were with the expert recruiters, and they talked about helping people move from I don't know how to get the best quality interview to actually getting through a 5-day process, getting the best interview. And they created a project out of that they launched in 30 days. It had really good marketing appeal. It attracted better quality clients, and it got interest from their paying clients. Because they tried something new. So a lot of the time you need to sort of manufacture stuff right now so that you can create that momentum, because if people see you moving in the space, they will be drawn to your momentum, especially in this time where everyone's stuck.
Absolutely. Russell Pearson, thank you so much for your time today. Fantastic input and fabulous comments in the chat box. As you can see, lots of positivity in a time when we really do need it. Helen's giving you a little clap there. I like that, Helen. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen.
Everybody, thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. As I mentioned, Melbourne Business Network is a membership-based organisation. We really would love to have you as part of the community. I'm going to write to all of you, post this webinar just to connect you all with Russell. Now, Russell has also promised us 100 ways to boost your business. So that's my job to get that to you. Yep. So I'll be passing that on to you. Our next webinar is on the 12th of August, where we'll be hearing from the Director of Small Business Victoria, Barbara Cullen. And Barbara Cullen's going to take us through the existing grants that you can access from the state government in relation to these existing restrictions. So once again, thank you, Russell Pearson, on behalf of Russell and Melbourne Business Network. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you in a week's time on the 12th of August. Bye.
See you later.